The story begins in a frozen, bleak sector where a heavily armored police transport is moving a group of dangerous convicts. En route, the van stops at a remote gas station to refuel. A few prisoners request to use the restroom. Though the guards initially refuse, they quickly reconsider, reasoning that in such an extreme, sub-zero wasteland, escape is impossible. Any convict who tried would freeze to death within minutes. After a short while, the inmates return to the van, but an officer realizes one man is missing, a dangerous convict named Craven. Going back to investigate, the guard finds Craven standing motionlessly inside the restroom. He is escorted back without incident, and the transport finishes its journey to the maximum security prison. Once locked in his cell, Craven's cellmate aggressively warns him that he dislikes sharing his space. Craven remains entirely unfazed, calmly replying that there is no need to worry. He will only be there for a few days anyway.
The next morning, while Craven is exercising in the yard, a group of older inmates underestimate him and launch a coordinated attack. Craven unleashes his true, terrifying strength, brutally overpowering the attackers and leaving them in critical condition. Following the assault, guards drag Craven before the prison warden, a ruthless man named Simon. Simon warns Craven that while today's incident is done, discipline must be maintained, hinting that he knows exactly how to break men who break the rules. As the warden speaks, Craven remains silent, his attention locked on the floor. There, he sees the skin of a slaughtered lion that has been turned into a rug. The sight deeply disturbs him, igniting a quiet fury. When Simon demands to know what Craven did before being locked up, Craven looks him dead in the eye and replies, "I am a hunter, and I hunt people like you."
Instantly, Craven lunges across the desk, drawing a concealed knife and repeatedly stabbing the warden in the throat, killing him on the spot. He begins his escape, moving with unnatural, animalistic agility, digging into the concrete walls and scaling them to cling to the ceiling. Realizing he possesses supernatural abilities, the guards open fire, but Craven effortlessly evades the hail of bullets and breaks out of the facility. Outside, an associate is waiting for him in a getaway plane. Once airborne, Craven puts on a headset and confirms into his mic that Simon is dead. It is revealed that Craven was never a real convict. He had intentionally stolen another inmate's identity to infiltrate the prison for the sole purpose of executing the warden. The story shifts to a flashback 16 years into the past. A young Craven and his younger brother, Dmitri, are picked up from school by their father, Nikolai. Nikolai is an immensely wealthy, powerful, and ruthless aristocrat who runs a massive illegal poaching and wildlife trafficking empire. During the drive, Nikolai coldly informs his sons that their mother has died, claiming her mental state was unstable and she took her own life. Both brothers are devastated, but Craven immediately blames his father,
believing Nikolai's cold nature and corrupt business drove their mother to despair. Expecting to go to her funeral, the boys are instead taken deep into the jungle. Nikolai has brought them there for a hunt, specifically targeting a legendary and highly dangerous predator known as the Tsar lion. Concurrently, a young girl named Calypso is in the jungle with her grandmother, who belongs to an ancient tribal family. Her grandmother hands Calypso a small bottle containing an ancestral serum passed down through generations. She warns Calypso that this is no ordinary medicine. It possesses miraculous properties, capable of healing any mortal wound and preserving life. Deep in the forest, Nikolai is tracking the beast when he is approached by Alexei, a rival hunter seeking a partnership. Nikolai scorns the offer, deeply humiliating Alexei by telling him he is nowhere near his level, calling him a purposeless nobody and driving him away. Alexei retreats, a burning hatred for Nikolai taking root in his mind. Meanwhile, Craven and Dmitri wander away from the main hunting party and find themselves face to face with the ferocious Tsar lion. Protecting his younger brother, Craven raises his rifle, but before he can pull the trigger, the massive predator pounces, mauling him violently. Hearing the screams, Nikolai rushes to the scene and fires a volley of bullets into the lion. Injured, the Tsar lion flees into the brush, dragging Craven along in its jaws. Calypso, exploring the jungle with her parents nearby, witnesses the attack and runs toward the commotion. As she approaches, the lion drops Craven and retreats into the shadows. But on its way out, a drop of the beast's blood falls directly into Craven's open wounds. Finding the boy near death, a panicked Calypso remembers her grandmother's serum. She pours it down his throat just before a rescue helicopter arrives to airlift him to a hospital.
At the hospital, doctors attempt to resuscitate Craven, but he shows no signs of life, and they eventually pronounce him dead. Moments after they leave the room, Craven's eyes snap open, glowing with an eerie, supernatural light. The ancestral serum has perfectly fused the Tsar lion's blood with his own DNA. Instantly healed, Craven is imbued with superhuman strength and heightened predatory senses, leaving the medical staff utterly stunned. Nikolai takes his recovered son home, praising his bravery against the beast and declaring that Craven will one day inherit the family empire. To commemorate the event, Nikolai presents Craven with the severed head of the Tsar lion. Instead of feeling pride, Craven is deeply repulsed. The apex predator's DNA has fundamentally altered his mind. He no longer views animals as game, but sees himself as their protector. In a fit of rage, he confronts his father about the needless slaughter before walking away.
That night, Craven packs his things to live permanently in the wild. Dmitri begs him to stay, weeping that their mother is gone, their father despises him, and Craven is his only support. Craven explains that if he stays, Nikolai will force him to become a poacher, turning him into a killer of innocent creatures. He bids his brother farewell and ventures into the deep forest. Upon entering the woods, Craven hears a massive rumble as a herd of wild buffalo charges directly at him. Bracing for death, he closes his eyes. When he opens them, he realizes the herd has split and run past him completely unharmed. The alpha male of the herd stands before him, bowing its head, as if recognizing Craven as the true king of the forest. Craven sets up camp in a secluded area his mother used to love, honing his abilities over the years. He discovers he can sprint with the speed of a lion and leap across canopies like a tiger. One afternoon, the sound of distant gunfire breaks his peace. Using his enhanced vision, Craven spots two poachers slaughtering wild buffalo kilometers away. Moving at lightning speed, he arrives at the scene to find several animals dead. Craven offers the men a single warning. He will forgive their past kills, but if they ever take another life in this forest, they will not survive. The poachers laugh and aim their rifles at him. In a flash, Craven closes the distance and slaughters them both.
The narrative cuts back to the present day. Having escaped the prison, Craven returns to his jungle sanctuary. The following morning, he discovers a new, heavily armed syndicate of poachers has entered the territory, hacking off the horns of wild buffalo. Craven steps out into the middle of the road, blocking their getaway vehicle. Acting as the apex protector of the valley, he refuses to let them pass. The syndicate leader orders his driver to run him over. The car rams into Craven at full speed, but Craven emerges from underneath the chassis unscathed. He systematically ambushes the poachers, killing them one by one, though a single survivor manages to flee in a truck. Utilizing his predatory vision, Craven memorizes the license plate. He tracks the survivor back to their urban headquarters, arriving ahead of the vehicle to execute both the corrupt boss and the surviving henchman.
We are then reintroduced to Calypso, who has grown up to become a prominent lawyer. She is attending the funeral of a close friend who was assaulted and murdered by Simon, the tyrannical warden Craven recently executed. Craven tracks Calypso down using a card she left behind years ago. When he approaches her and reveals he is the boy she saved in the jungle, she is overjoyed to see him alive. Craven informs her that he has delivered justice for her friend by killing Simon inside his own prison. Though skeptical at first, Calypso checks the news online and confirms the warden's mysterious assassination, realizing the public is already whispering rumors of a vigilante known as the Hunter.
The next day, they meet again.
Craven explains that he wanted to repay his life debt to her. Knowing that the legal system failed to convict Simon, Craven took matters into his own hands. Calypso argues that as an attorney, she cannot condone murder, but admits the world is safer without Simon. Recognizing her unique position, Craven points out that her legal files contain names of countless monsters the law cannot touch. He proposes a deal. She provides the names, and he will hunt them down. Calypso reluctantly agrees, warning him of the immense danger.
Meanwhile, Alexei has built his own powerful criminal network. One of his lieutenants informs him that a lethal vigilante named Craven is systematically destroying their poaching operations. Realizing he is a target, Alexei visits a rival syndicate whose leader Craven recently killed. He offers to take over their shattered business and protect them. When several disgruntled members open fire on him, the bullets bounce harmlessly off Alexei's skin. It is revealed that Alexei has acquired a biochemical technology that mutates his body, granting him the dense hide and unstoppable strength of a rhino. To ensure compliance, Alexei's hidden sniper executes the remaining dissenters, leaving one terrified survivor who immediately swears allegiance.
Still harboring a grudge over the humiliation he suffered from Nikolai years ago, Alexei sends this surviving thug to Nikolai's estate under the guise of a business meeting. Nikolai quickly realizes it is an assassination attempt and orders his guards to open fire, sparking a massive gunfight. During the chaos, Nikolai's younger son, Dmitri, hides under a table in terror. Nikolai easily kills the attackers himself. Discovering Dmitri cowering beneath the furniture, Nikolai drags him out and berates him mercilessly, cursing his cowardice. When Alexei learns his hit squad failed, he vows vengeance. His tech specialists show him footage of Craven, whom Alexei instantly recognizes as Nikolai's estranged son. He deploys his top hunters to eliminate Craven.
Oblivious to the brewing war, Craven sneaks into the family estate to visit Dmitri for his birthday. Nikolai interrupts them, demanding Craven abandon his life in the woods and return to claim his inheritance. Craven flatly refuses. At midnight, Craven prepares to leave, but Dmitri begs him to stay the night. Out of love for his brother, Craven agrees to sleep on the sofa. Unable to cope with the confines of an indoor room, Craven slips outside to sleep in the garden. The next morning, Craven returns to the bedroom to find the sheets stained with blood. Dmitri has been abducted. Looking down from the balcony, Craven spots armed men forcing his brother into a vehicle. He crashes through the glass, pursuing the car on foot at superhuman speeds. Despite his best efforts, the kidnappers manage to transfer Dmitri into a waiting helicopter and escape.
Desperate, Craven seeks Calypso's help. She tracks the operation to a Turkish mercenary group working under Alexei's payroll, noting they have demanded a $20 million ransom. Lacking the funds, Craven confronts his father. Nikolai coldly refuses to pay, stating that paying a ransom shows weakness, even after the kidnappers send him one of Dmitri's severed fingers to prove their gravity. Disgusted by his father's cruelty, Craven uses Calypso's intel to locate the mercenary safe house. He infiltrates the compound, brutally incapacitating the guards before capturing the Turkish leader. Under severe interrogation, the mercenary confesses that Dmitri has been delivered directly to Alexei.
In his stronghold, Alexei holds a bound Dmitri at gunpoint, demanding Craven's location. When Dmitri refuses to speak, Alexei shifts to psychological manipulation. He tells Dmitri that Craven is an unstable beast who will eventually kill Nikolai and ruin the family legacy. Alexei hooks a chemical feeding tube into his own abdomen, demonstrating his monstrous armored rhino transformation. He promises Dmitri that if he betrays Craven, he will give him the serum necessary to become powerful and finally command respect. Desperate to escape his lifelong weakness, Dmitri succumbs and reveals Craven's location.
Knowing a war is coming, Craven returns to his jungle sanctuary alongside Calypso, crafting an arsenal of primitive and advanced weaponry. Armed with Dmitri's intel, Alexei sends a heavily armed strike team led by a specialized assassin who possesses potent hypnotic powers. The squad sets an ambush in the deep jungle, but Kraven's heightened senses detect them. He begins picking off the mercenaries one by one, aided by the apex predators of the forest who attack the poachers on his unspoken command. During the chaos, the hypnotic specialist corners Kraven, shooting him with a hallucinogenic toxin that cripples his mind with vivid illusions, bringing him to his knees. Before the assassin can deliver a fatal blow, Calypso fires an arrow directly through the assassin's head, killing him instantly and allowing Kraven to snap out of the trance.
Soon after, Alexei arrives in the jungle with his personal guard, expecting to find Kraven dead. Instead, the ground begins to shake as a massive stampede of wild buffalo charges their position. Alexei quickly activates the device on his waist, pumping the mutagen into his bloodstream to transform into his armored rhino form. While the stampede crushes his vehicles and kills his men, Alexei stands completely unharmed, his skin harder than iron. Kraven emerges from the trees, and a brutal, catastrophic duel begins. Because of Alexei's impenetrable hide, Kraven's physical strikes do nothing, and Alexei begins dominating the fight, repeatedly slamming Kraven into the earth and leaving him bloodied. Relying on his intellect rather than raw force, Kraven uses a heavy metal cable to snare Alexei's leg, tossing the other end into the path of the ongoing stampede. Alexei is dragged wildly into the dirt, battered by the hooves of the buffalo.
Though weakened, Alexei attempts to stand, his mutation sustained by the glowing chemical tube feeding into his abdomen. Spotting the weakness, Kraven seizes a sharp iron rod and drives it directly into the regulator tube. The device ruptures, causing Alexei to vomit blood as the unstable mutation collapses his internal organs, killing him. As the dust settles, Dmitri steps out from the shadows, watching his brother stand victorious.
With Alexei dead, Kraven confronts his father, Nikolai, revealing he knows the truth. Nikolai had leaked the footage of Kraven to Alexei in the first place. Nikolai proudly confesses to the manipulation. He explains that he knew Kraven was systematically destroying poachers and that Alexei was the greatest threat to the family empire. Unable to kill Alexei himself without starting a gang war, Nikolai orchestrated Dmitri's kidnapping and framed Kraven as a threat to force the two apex predators into a fatal confrontation, successfully eliminating his greatest rival.
Furious that he was used as a pawn in his father's corporate blood sport, Kraven tells Nikolai that the hunt is over. Every poacher who endangered the forest is dead, leaving only one name left on the list: Nikolai himself. Kraven demands his father retire and end the syndicate. Nikolai laughs, declaring himself the ultimate hunter who will never bow. Without a word, Kraven turns his back and walks away into the foliage. The moment he disappears, a massive, vengeful wild bear steps out of the brush, locking its eyes on Nikolai. Nikolai draws his sidearm and pulls the trigger, only to hear an empty click. Kraven had already stripped the weapon of its ammunition. Realizing the beast is acting under Kraven's absolute command, Nikolai can only watch as the bear lunges forward, bringing a violent end to his empire.